Okay? Now, I want you to understand a piece of information. I recognize 99% of your handwritings.
No.
So, you know what I mean by that. Okay? Now, I'm going to go ahead and pass this out. This is due back to me on Wednesday. Okay? Wednesday of this week. And this is an assignment you will get a grade for. Okay? Now, you can say the quadratic formula or you can sing it. We are going to listen to the song as soon as I finish passing these out.
What do I have to get these to again? Is it 3 teachers and then you?
No. It has on the top of the paper the directions.
Okay.
It says 1 teacher, 1 family member, and an additional person of your choice. And then at the bottom, I have to sign off on it that you've recited it to me. All right. Okay. So, the quadratic formula song. Let us all go and enjoy that together real fast.
X is equal to negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. X is equal to negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. X is equal to negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. X is equal to negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a.
From the
New NYX professional makeup and
from the top, one last time.
X is equal to negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. X is equal to negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. X is equal to negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. X is equal to negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a.
That is the quadratic formula. All right. So, we are now that we have that in our brain forever. Okay? It is to the tune of Pop Goes the Weasel. Now, we are going to go ahead and we're going to learn how to use the quadratic formula. Okay? So we all need out our notes and we all need to go to 9.6. Yes. Yes. Do what? I'll sign that last one. Okay. Yeah. Your name will go on that. I hereby I do this process by that blank beside it. That's where your name will go. All right. Now, we do need 9.6. Now, we are going to look at this and we are going to do this in a way that makes it so that we don't have any weird issues whenever the type of solution changes. Okay? So, we're going to start just here at the top. First things first, you have to set the equation equals to 0. So, you need to get it to the form ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. Okay? Then, you just have to identify your a, b, and c. Okay? Once we have our a, b, and c, we plug those in. And then we simplify our formula. That is how we use the quadratic formula. So for the first few, I have everything set up for us, okay? Just so we can focus on plugging into where it goes and simplifying. So we're going to do number 1 together, okay? So for number 1, what is our A? 1, because that is what's in front of x squared. So our A is simply 1. What is our B? What is B? Negative 10. What is C? Negative 24. Okay? So what we do from here, okay, is we just plug into our formula. So we have x is equal to negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Okay? We are going to plug in where we need to. What do I need to plug in first? Negative 10. So it should be negative 10 plus or minus the square root of negative 10 squared minus 4 times 1 times negative 24 all over 2 times 1. Every single time I want you to set it up, okay? We're going to set it up first every single time. Now, when we go to simplify this, okay, what I want you to start by doing, okay, is a negative and a negative is a positive. So we have 10 plus or minus. I do not want you to put in all of this into your calculator. That would only work in certain
X is equal to negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac
is we're solely going to put in what is
2a.
underneath the square root into our calculator. Okay, we put what is underneath the square root into our calculator because if it's irrational, our calculator is going to give us a crazy decimal. If it's imaginary, it's going to error. But if we put just what's underneath it, it'll let us simplify our square roots separately. Okay, so I want you to type in just what is underneath the square root, parentheses and all.
Negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus
So what goes
4ac
underneath our square root? Type that into the calculator. Just what is under it.
X is
Not the
equal to
square root,
negative
but
b
just what's inside
plus
of
or
it.
minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. X is equal to negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a.
196. Okay, then we're going to divide that by 2 times 1, which is 2. Okay, now from here we're actually going to simplify. Okay, so can we take the square root of 196? Yes, ma'am. Okay, did you use your parentheses? Did you put a square root in it? Okay, let me look. You gotta use the parentheses on the outside of that one. All right, so what is the square root of 196? 14. Okay, so we have 10 plus or minus 14 divided by 2. When we have the plus or minus, okay, with regular numbers, right, we have to do both cases. So we're going to do 10 plus 14 divided by 2. And we're going to do 10 minus 14 divided by 2. What is 10 plus 14? So we have 24 divided by 2, which is 12. What is 10 minus 14? Negative 4. What is negative 4 divided by 2? Negative 2. So our solutions for this is x is equal to negative 2, 12. I would also rather use this than completing the square. All right. Sometimes completing the square is easier if A is 1 and B is even. It's not too bad. But quadratic formula is very, very consistent. All right, now, we're also going to look at number 3 together. So we're going to skip 2 for right now. We're going to come back to it, but we're going to go to number 3. So for number 3, okay, what is, yes? You have to recite the quadratic formula to 3 people other than me and turn it in for a grade. Yep. All right, for number 3, okay, what is our A term? 3. What is our B term? What is our C term? 1. Okay, now, from here, okay, we have to plug it in. What do I plug in first? So we have -7 plus or minus the square root of -7 squared minus 4 times divided by 2 times. Okay, so there's our quadratic formula all set up. Okay, now we're going to simplify it. So we have x is equal to, what does a negative and a negative make? So we have +7 plus or minus the square root. What is underneath that square root? Well, tell me, find it. Use your calculator and tell me what it is. 37. Okay. This is exactly why I do not want you to type in the square root when you do that. Because if you do the square root of 37, your calculator is going to give you a big ugly decimal. Okay, and that is not an exact answer. Okay, because even your calculator has to round somewhere. So from here, we finish the problem out. What is 2 times 3? 6. Now, can I simplify the square root of 37? Is 37 divisible by 36? Is it divisible by 25? By 16? By 9? No. By 4? No. No perfect squares go into 37. So we cannot simplify any further. So that right there is our solution. Yep. That is all we have to do to get the solution when it is irrational. Okay. It's really not. Okay. Now, our last one we're going to look at on this front page here is number 4. Okay, for number 4, what is our A term? 1. What is our B term? What is our C term? Okay, now from here we're going to plug in. What do I plug in first? So we have -4 plus or minus the square root of 4 squared minus 4 times divided by 2 times 1. So now we set up the next line. So x is equal to, a positive and a negative make a. So -4 plus or minus the square root. What is underneath that radical? Do what? Not quite. Check your, not just 16, but it is -16 under there. Okay? All divided by 2. Now, we have to simplify that if we can. Can I simplify the square root of -16? Yes. Okay, we split that into the square root of -1 times the square root of 16. What's the square root of -1? What's the square root of 16? So we would write that as 4i. So we get x is equal to -4 plus or minus 4i divided by 2. Now, there is a slight difference between these two questions in that one of them gets simplified and one of them doesn't. Okay, so if we look at this, number 3, is 7 divisible by 6? Is the square root of 37 divisible by 6? So there's nothing I can do to simplify that. Okay, but if I look at number 4, is -4 divisible by 2? Is 4 divisible by 2? Yes. So that means that is something we can simplify. If both of these terms are divisible by the bottom one, or they both simplify, we can simplify it, okay? So to write our answer for this, what is negative 4 divided by 2? Negative 2. What is 4i divided by 2? 2i. So our answer is negative 2 plus or minus 2i. Okay, so we only have to simplify if both of these terms is divisible by the denominator.
So if one isn't, you just keep it as it is.
All right, so I want y'all to do number 2 for me real quick. So go ahead and do number 2. Start by finding A, B, and C and setting it up. So in order to set this up, this is what you need to make sure you have to start with. Okay, that is how we set that up. Now we get negative 7 plus or minus. What goes underneath our square root? 25. Yep. All divided by 4. So we get negative 7 plus or minus the square root of 25 divided by 4. What is the square root of 25? 5. So we have negative 7 plus or minus 5 divided by 4. So we have to do both cases. What is negative 7 plus 4? Or negative 7 plus 5? Negative 2. What does negative 2 over 4 simplify to? Negative 2 over 4 simplifies to? Negative 1/2. Okay, what about negative 7 minus 5? Negative 12 divided by 4 is? Negative 3. So that is how we would solve out this equation using the quadratic formula. Okay, do we have any questions on that one? Okay, so the back page is split into the 3 different types of solutions we can have. It's split into real rational solutions, real irrational, and it's split into complex numbers. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to do one of each, and then you're going to do the other one by yourself. One together, one on your own. One together, one on our own. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to do question number 5 together. Okay, so on the back, we're going to do question number 5 together. These are our real rational solutions. So these are going to have our numerical answers. No square roots, no i's, just a regular old number. Okay, so for number 5, this is not set up for us, correct? Okay,
Yeah.
so I recommend, the way I always start these is before I do anything, when I know I have to solve by the quadratic formula, I set up x is equal to negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c all over 2a. I set that up first every single time. The reason being is because one of the most common mistakes is like forgetting your negative in front or typing something in incorrectly into your calculator because you dropped a parentheses. Okay, the quadratic formula isn't where doing the quadratic formula isn't where the mistakes happen. It's the signs in the quadratic formula is where the mistakes happen. So by setting it up, it lets you have it already written in a way that is going to give you the right answer when you put it in a calculator. Okay? So set up first, super important. Okay? Do you have to? No. But I recommend you to. I do it this way every single time. I set it up first, then I plug in. Okay? So once we get here, we have to find our A, B, and C. What is A? What is B? And what is C? Okay, now I plug those in. What do I plug in first? So we have -7 plus or minus the square root of squared minus 4 times divided by 2 times. Okay, so we get x is equal to a positive and a negative, make that -7 plus or minus the square root. Use your calculator and tell me what goes underneath that square root. 121. All divided by 2 times 3 is? Okay. Now, can I take the square root of 121? What is it? So -7 plus or minus 11 divided by 6. And then we do both cases. -7 plus 11 divided by 6. What is -7 plus 11? 4 over 6, which simplifies to? What can go into both 4 and 6? 2. What is 4 divided by 2? 6 divided by 2? 3. So we get 2/3. Then we're going to do -7 minus 11 divided by 6. What is -7 minus 11? What is -18 divided by 6? -3. So our solution here is x is equal to -3, 2/3. Then I want y'all to do number 6. Yes.
I don't know what to do. And we're not split plus or minus in the.
So the only time you'll split plus or minus is if it's a real number right there. So like if it's like 5, if it's 2 things you can add and subtract together, then you do both cases. But if it's got a square root or an I in it, you can't combine it any further, so you just leave it.
But this one has a fraction, so we couldn't do plus or minus.
This right here? What do you mean?
I'm saying like, when do we know what to put plus or minus in the answer?
When it's left with a square root or a I. Okay, remember, start with your setup. Then you plug everything in. Okay, once you simplify that, what should the next line of this be? 4 plus or minus the square root of 64 divided by 2 times 4, which is 8. Okay. What is the square root of 64? So you should have 4 plus or minus 8 divided by 8, and you got to do both cases. Okay, if we do 4 plus 8 divided by 8, okay, what is 4 plus 8? 12. 12 over 8 simplifies to?
12.
What is 12 over 8 simplify to? 3 over 2. Okay, 4 minus 8 is what? What does negative 4 over 8 simplify to? Negative 1/2. So that is where we get our solutions, negative 1/2, comma, 3 over 2. Yes?
If it's already small decimals, can you leave it small decimals?
What do you mean?
Like, when you do the 4 minus 8, and then if you just divide that by 8.
I want you to try to leave them as fractions.
Okay.
Yeah. I want all of our stuff to be pretty much left as fractions. And that'll be for solving all quadratics, just because it's a little bit more exact of an answer form. All right. Now, our next section. All right, y'all, let's pay attention, please. Okay, we're going to look at irrational solutions next. So we're going to do question number 7 together. So let's start by setting up our quadratic formula. X is equal to negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c all over 2a. Now, what is my a term? 1, because that's what's understood to be in front. What is our b term? What is our c term? Okay, now to plug this in, what do I plug in first? 4. So we have negative 4 plus or minus the square root of squared minus 4 times divided by 2 times. So we get x equals, what does this right here give us? Negative 4 plus or minus the square root of, what goes underneath our square root here? 12. Yep. Okay, and we're going to divide that by 2. Now, can I take the square root of 12? But can I simplify it? What is the biggest perfect square that can go into 12? So, square root of 4 times the square root of, what? 4 times what gives you 12? 3. What would that give me? 2 root 3. So we get x is equal to negative 4 plus or minus 2 root 3 over 2. Now, I can't add or subtract those together, okay, but does 4 divide by 2? Does 2 divide by 2? So can I simplify that further? What is negative 4 divided by 2? Then we have plus or minus. What is 2 root 3 divided by 2? Just root 3. Yeah. And that is our answer. Because essentially those 2's right there just cancel out. Just leave the root 3. Okay, but you got to do it to both. Which is why our answer is negative 2 plus or minus the square root of 3. Now I want y'all to do number 8.
Are you serious? Can you stop blaming me? You have a
Yes.
Okay, if you hate me, you just know someone's probably
All right, we should be working. More working, less talking, okay? So once we set this up, our setup should look like this. Okay, a negative and a negative make that positive. And what goes underneath our square root? 41. Okay, divide that by 4. Can I simplify the square root of 41? No. So we get 3 plus or minus the square root of 41 divided by 4. Because can I divide 3 by 4? Can I divide the square root of 41 by 4? So that is our answer. I like when it ends like that because it's super quick. All right. The last section is complex number solutions. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and do number 9 together. So for number 9, we set it up first. X is equal to negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c all over 2a. What is our a term? What is b? What is c? And then we plug those in. So what do I plug in first? Negative 4. So we have negative 4 plus or minus the square root of negative 4 squared minus 4 times divided by 2 times. So we get x is equal to a negative and a negative make a 4 plus or minus the square root of what goes underneath that square root. What was that? Negative 24. All divided by 4. Okay, so we have to see, can I simplify the square root of negative 24? Yes. Okay, I can split that into square root of negative 1 times the square root of 24. What is the square root of negative 1? Now, can a perfect square go into 24? 4 can. How many times can 4 go in? So square root of 4 times the square root of 6. What is the square root of 4? So we have 2. Can I take the square root of 6?
3.
So 2 root 6. So we get x is equal to 4 plus or minus. How do I write that? How do I combine this part together? Divided by 4. Now, can I simplify 4 over 4? Can I simplify 2 over 4? Yeah, to 1/2, right? So we're going to do, what is 4 divided by 4? So 1 plus or minus, what was 2 over 4 again? 1/2 I root 6. And that is our answer. Okay, I want y'all to do number 10 for me. Y'all have 4 minutes left. Do number 10. Yes. Mm-hmm. In the closet, in a big box on the middle shelf.
Can I grab it?
Mm-hmm.
Well, maybe my guess is picking. I don't. It's not.
I did it, but I don't really care.
Oh. Yeah. Where'd you say it was?
It's on the middle shelf in the big box. Down one shelf. That box right there. Yep.
Because you guys are done with that.
Tú concéntrate en tu tarea.
And you can just open them and put them back there. Jagger, just open them and put them back there.
Felipe, why don't you
I, yeah.